Rain poured over the cracked asphalt as the ambulance doors slammed shut. Inside, a woman's faint heartbeat flickered on the monitor, a heart fighting to stay alive. Outside, beneath the hospital's flickering neon lights, a single father named Ethan Cole stood shivering, clutching a small soaked backpack that belonged to his 10-year-old daughter, Lily. He wasn't there because of the woman. He was there because he had seen the sign on the hospital board. Urgent kidney donor needed. Blood type O negative. Ethan stared at it for a long while, feeling that strange pull in his chest, the kind that whispers you were meant to do something. He didn't know who the patient was, didn't know her name, her face, her story. But he did know one thing. He couldn't walk away when someone's life was hanging by a thread. Before we go deeper into this story, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the power of unseen goodness that can change lives, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness of Americans. Your support helps us keep spreading real stories that touch hearts. Ethan was a man who had known loss far too young. 3 years earlier, his wife had passed away from leukemia, leaving him alone with their daughter. The bills, the loneliness, the constant grind of survival. It was all too much sometimes. He worked double shifts at a diner, flipping pancakes in the morning and mopping floors at night. But no matter how tired he got, he never missed Lily's bedtime story. It was their ritual, the one promise he'd made to his wife on her deathbed. She'll never feel alone. Yet as he looked at the hospital form asking if he wished to proceed with the kidney donation, he hesitated. What if something went wrong? Who would take care of Lily? But then he thought of the woman whose name he didn't even know, the stranger lying somewhere in that same building, maybe with a daughter of her own waiting at home, praying for a miracle. He closed his eyes, whispered, "God, let me help," and signed the paper. The days before the surgery were heavy with fear and faith. Ethan tried to act brave in front of Lily, who was too young to understand what her father was doing. He told her he was just helping someone get better. But inside, he carried a mix of dread and peace, dread for his own risks, and peace because he knew he was doing something right. When the operation day came, he lay under the bright hospital lights, whispering his wife's name before the anesthesia pulled him under. When Ethan woke up, the room was filled with the soft hum of machines. His side ached sharply, but his first thought wasn't of pain. It was of relief. Somewhere in that same hospital, a life had been saved. He didn't know her name, didn't want to. He wanted no recognition, no thanks. He just wanted to go home to his little girl and continue living quietly. What Ethan didn't know was that the woman who now carried his kidney was Isabella Hart, a reclusive billionaire CEO who had built her empire from scratch but lost her soul along the way. Her company's towers touched the clouds, but her heart had grown hollow. The tabloids called her the Iron Queen, cold, calculating, unreachable. View knew that she had been diagnosed with a rare kidney disease that slowly drained her strength, and for years every donor match had failed. Until Ethan Cole. Weeks later, Isabella sat by her hospital window, looking out over the skyline. She had been told her donor refused any reward, that he'd left immediately after recovery. That intrigued her. She was used to people wanting something. Power, money, status. Everyone had a price. But not this man. He had given her life without even knowing who she was. For the first time in decades, Isabella felt something unfamiliar. Gratitude that hurt like a lump in her throat. Months passed. Ethan returned to his normal life, juggling work, rent, and fatherhood. The surgery had left him weaker, but he refused to complain. Sometimes when he'd rest his hand over the scar on his side, he'd think of the stranger he'd helped, hoping she was living her second chance fully. His only joy was Lily. Bright, innocent Lily, whose laughter could light up their small apartment. One cold December night, fate decided their paths would cross again. The diner where Ethan worked had been struggling, and a rumor spread that a wealthy investor might buy it to keep it from closing. When the black car stopped outside and a woman in an elegant coat stepped in, everyone turned. Her posture was commanding, her presence magnetic. But when her eyes, soft hazel, touched by loneliness, met Ethan's, something unexplainable stirred in both of them. She didn't recognize him at first, but she saw a kindness in his gaze that she hadn't seen in anyone in years. Ethan simply greeted her with a smile, the same one he gave to every customer, though something about her aura felt oddly familiar. Isabella sat at the corner booth and watched the way he moved, the way he gently refilled an old man's coffee, the way he tied Lily's scarf when she came to visit after school. That warmth, that quiet, selfless care. It was like seeing her donor's spirit alive in front of her. The next week, Isabella returned, then again. She started talking to Ethan, learning about his life, his daughter, his late wife, his struggles. She saw something pure in him, the kind of honesty money couldn't buy. He told her he believed everyone deserved kindness, even when life didn't return it. She smiled at that, hiding the truth in her heart. He had already shown her that kind of kindness once. One evening, after months of friendship, Isabella revealed her identity. Ethan froze. He had seen her name in newspapers, never imagining that she was the one. She thanked him through trembling lips, telling him how his gift had changed her entire perspective on life. "You didn't just save my body," she whispered. "You reminded me that humanity still exists." Ethan said nothing for a while, just looked at her with quiet humility. "I didn't need to know who you were," he said softly. "I just hoped you'd live your life fully." But Isabella couldn't leave it at that. She wanted to repay him, to give back something meaningful. She offered him a job in her company, one that would change his and Lily's lives forever. At first, Ethan refused. He didn't want charity, but Isabella didn't see it as charity. She saw it as destiny, two lives crossing at the perfect moment. Finally, after much convincing, he accepted, and soon found himself managing one of her charitable foundations. As months turned to years, Isabella became part of their lives, not as a CEO, but as family. She attended Lily's school recitals, spent Christmas with them, laughed and cried with them. For the first time, she felt the warmth of a home, something her billions could never buy. And Ethan, in turn, taught her what it meant to live not for success, but for love, for compassion, for simple acts of grace that ripple through the world unseen. The kidney he gave her had become a symbol, not just of survival, but of the bond that kindness can forge between two strangers. One evening, under the golden sunset by the lake near their city, Isabella placed her hand over her side and said, "Every time I feel my heart beating, I remember that a part of you lives within me. You didn't just give me life, you gave me a family." Tears filled Ethan's eyes as Lily ran up to them, laughing, holding a small daisy. He looked at the two most important women in his life and whispered, "Maybe this is what miracles look like." And as the light faded over the water, the story of a single father and a lonely billionaire became one of those rare truths. That sometimes kindness finds its way back home, even when you give it away without expecting anything in return. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness of Americans. Your support helps us bring more real, emotional stories of compassion and hope to life.